FYI. And then other than that, like we are going to try a little bit of a different structure, I guess. So the first part will be mostly about explaining the CLPs, and we are going to try like just talk a little bit, like me and Lewis, FX Forte, and just to make it maybe clearer, like what some of those elements of the CLPs are and like how exactly it works. And then later on, it will be like open for questions, and those questions can be general. They can be about CLPs, or they can be about anything else, as long as it's related to Gyro, of course. So I guess we can start with like the CLP. So as a recap first of all, the CLPs, like those were the pools that we launched some time ago, and like they're currently like only like in capped mode and on Polygon, and we have like basically an address cap and a pool cap now. And but yeah, first of all, I guess we can start on asking like what exactly has been launched, Lewis.
Before answering that, maybe also we could just do very quick introductions for ourselves as well, just so everyone knows who we are. So
Sure.
yeah, we're the core, a couple of the core team members and founders of the Gyroscope project and stablecoin. So yeah, great to be talking to everyone, and thanks very much for the interest. So I'll answer your question directly. So what have we launched? So if you have a look at the site app.gyro.finance, this will show you, this is like our front end, or at least the front end of the development team, and this will show you what is currently out there. So essentially, it's one instance of each pool type. So we have released two CLP. So CLP is this concentrated liquidity pool that is our new type of pool that we've created in-house. So we have one with two assets. So currently that's for wrapped ETH and wrapped BTC, and then we've got one for three assets, including BUSD, which is a relatively new addition in leads to have this asset natively on Polygon. So yeah, that's what we've launched. We're really excited about that. It's great to have this out there, and yeah, it's for now we're doing this in a purely testing capacity, but yeah, that's what's out.
Mm-hmm. So like the pools, like there are two CLPs and three CLPs, like so the name 2CLP, does it describe the amount of assets that is included, or where's that name coming from?
Right. So the name of these pools, so 2CLP or 3CLP, it just comes from the pricing function. So 2CLPs, they use a quadratic invariant curve, whereas 3CLPs use a cubic function. So yeah, I mean, simply like the name, so 2CLP, this refers to the number of assets that can be pooled. So a 2CLP allows you to pool two assets, and a 3CLP allows you to pool three assets.
All right, cool. And I guess like how would you compare like the 2CLP, for example, to another AMM design like Uniswap v3?
Right, yeah, good question. So 2CLPs, these are essentially just like simplified design of Uniswap v3. So in Uniswap v3, you have this like open-ended range where there are ticks for each subset on that range. And Uniswap v3 pools essentially concentrate like this liquidity for each of these subsets or tick in that range, whereas our 2CLPs, they concentrate all of the pool's liquidity onto just a single tick. So in terms of like the kind of benefits of doing this, so essentially by specializing our design for the most traded price ranges, it allows us to have a pool with a very high capital efficiency, So you don't have capital spread out across a large range where not all of that range is actually used. Higher gas efficiency and also simpler user experience, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. So this is for the 2 CLPs and like for the 3 CLPs?
So yeah, the 3 CLPs are a bit like 2 CLPs, but just with all the benefits amplified. So they have they represent quite a nice innovation on concentrated liquidity, and they combine kind of two crucial aspects of AMM design development. So one of these is about having pools with multiple assets. Of course, it's nice if you can have pools with more than 2 assets as well as just concentrated liquidity itself. So really compressing the range of effective range of liquidity to a much narrower window than just across the full price range, as we saw with in like the original Uniswap design.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. And I guess the next obvious question is like, any AMM needs liquidity, right? So like, how will those pools receive the liquidity?
So yeah, so this is something that takes quite a bit of thought. So in the first case, it's like, and maybe it's also helpful to explain a bit more about this because it's really important to like understand this. So Gyroscope fundamentally is about building a stablecoin, but the crucial part of this stablecoin is the reserve pools, and where the capital is actually stored that makes up this reserve. So you might be wondering, like, why is a stablecoin project releasing these pools? And that's because these are fundamental components to our reserve. So in particular, the reserve assets for the Gyroscope reserve is going to be stored in AMM pools, exactly like the ones that we have deployed and that we're testing out, as well as other pools. So this means that for someone like minting the gyro dollars, the provided capital, a portion of that will be stored in these reserve pools. And of course, other traders or other market players or just anybody can also freely join and provide liquidity to the pools as well. So you can see this is essentially like what we're observing at the moment with people in our testing pools joining and being able to proportionally join and proportionally withdraw assets from the pools. But for this launch version, there's no reserve yet, right? Of course. So this is our plan for the future as opposed to the source of liquidity right now.
Okay, and so I mean, like, having enough liquidity is obviously like a key driver of like any AMM, but like, and presumably like it also drives traffic. But like, do we have is there like another mechanism in place to drive traffic to like those pools?
There's a really important other mechanism as well. So there's one way to join is through just like directly interacting with the pools, whether this is through the contracts directly, like our front end, another front end if someone creates one. But the other critical mechanism is about the integration of these pools with balances, smart order routing. So just to explain a bit more about this, so our 2 CLP and 3 CLP pools, these are deployed as like specializations of balancer pools. So they're like very customized balancer pools. So yeah, I imagine that many people in our Discord are pretty familiar with how Balancer works, but essentially Balancer, one of its like core value propositions is that it enables other projects to go up to the code base and their code base and use parts of this to like as a foundation for building like pools with like arbitrary logic almost that allows or that defines the pricing function within those pools. So what we have done is inherited this logic essentially, or parts of this logic, and we've developed these completely custom pools. And then the big advantage of doing this is that it allows us to integrate with the Balancer ecosystem and integrate tightly with the Balancer smart order routing system. So what this means, to be super concrete, so it means that if you want to do a trade through Balancer between different assets at the moment right now, and say you wanted to trade between assets like within our pool. So let's say you go to I think it's trade.balancer.fi, and you wanted to trade between like BUSD and USDC. The Balancer SOR would sort of show that our 3 CLP pool, because this has USDC and BUSD, and it would show that this is the route that should be used for the trade. And yeah, this could be the case. Like there are more complicated, much more complicated routes. In fact, that could be taken for some particular trade. So if you want to do some sort of swap using Balancer, there are other routes that might route the liquidity through our pools. But yeah, I think that this is like really important to understand how important our pools are for liquidity, is about like the role that these pools can play as like very efficient bridges for liquidity between different pairs. And bridges in the sense of just like hops. There's no actual bridging going on. But yeah, that's like the role. And yeah, it's pretty. We're quite excited about that, and we hope that we've spent a lot of time looking at optimizing our gas costs and so on. So we really hope that these pools are offer a really nice like gas efficient way of doing these trades and these swaps. Okay. And yeah, it's like would really encourage people to try this out on Polygon and see what they think. The costs of doing so on Polygon are pretty low, given the transaction fees and so on. So yeah, try it out and see what you think, and would really love to have any more feedback.
Okay, and it's also interesting. You just noticed fees, and I guess this would be the last puzzle piece to have like some sort of like functional understanding, because like so far we covered like how the pools will be bootstrapped, like how they can be basically like integrated with like things like Balancer, for example, to basically automatically receive like traffic, and we covered like basically like the general overview and some benefits of CLPs. But like I guess to round this picture, like so like are there going to be any fees, and like who is going to set those fees, and for what would there be any fees for the pools? Can you cover this as well?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is a project that has like decentralization at its very center. So this sort of fee choice should ultimately be made by governance, like Gyro governance. For the initial like testing release with caps, we have these like swap fees, which you can see what these are on the UI. So these are just to make the distinction. So swap fees, this is like distinct from protocol fees. So this is like just the fee that's charged on swaps, and this is it's like 0.03% for 3 CLP and 0.25% for the 2 CLP. But these fees aren't going to Gyro or Balancer. That's something that could be toggled on later, but this is this is a decision for the governance.
Okay, cool. And I think this is also already really interesting. Maybe Lewis, like, if you would want to do like a mini recap, and then like afterwards we can probably open for like some sort of technical questions. If anyone of you has like any technical questions, there should be like a notification somewhere like to request to speak or whatever, and then we can like give you the word to ask your questions, like any technical questions about the CLPs. And once we covered this, then later on we will also have like space for like general questions that are not specific to the CLP. But before we go there, maybe Lewis, like, just give us like a brief recap of like 2 CLPs, 3 CLPs, and like what the main innovation, I guess, is.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's pretty straightforward to summarize it. So we've deployed our first versions of our pools, our new concentrated liquidity pools on Polygon. There's 2 types out. So 2 CLPs, these support 2 assets. So for 2 CLP, you can think of this as just concentrating all liquidity to within a single tick. Then 3 CLPs, clue is in the name, so 3 CLPs support 3 assets. They also concentrate liquidity, and they essentially just amplify the benefits of 2 CLPs and allow us to use 3 assets. So between the 2 of these, so between the 2 and the 3 CLPs, the 3 CLPs are the kind of more, let's say, important innovation from our perspective. They, like, just given what already exists out there, and these 3 CLPs, they combine the kind of largest developments in AMMs, so they allow pools to have multiple, as in more than 2 assets, and also for liquidity to be concentrated to within fairly tight price ranges, which are some pretty nice innovations. Should we open up the floor if anyone wants to ask questions about these pools? I think now could be a good time to do so.
Indeed.
Hopefully it's clear to everyone how to actually do that, right? Like raising a hand, requesting to speak, and so on. Alternatively, if you don't have any specific questions about pools, but you just want to say hello, that's also more than welcome.
I think we have our first question, actually, if you want to go ahead. You may have to unmute yourself first. Isan? Okay.
Might be having a bit of microphone trouble. Maybe Esan could be on stage until that's sorted, and we can see if someone else wants to speak.
Sure. Okay, there's one more request to speak, and hopefully you should be able to do that.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Hello?
We can hear you well. You can go ahead and ask your question if you want.
Okay, hi. I just was curious to, I think I misheard initially. You said something about the decentralization, that it was censored, or did you mean something else? Because and then it led into governance decisions.
Right, yeah, definitely didn't say anything about decentralization being censored. I said that decentralization is super important for this project. It's like one of the core values. So I'm not too sure what you heard.
It was
but
probably
hopefully that clears that
essential,
up completely.
essential instead of censored, or maybe. Yeah.
Central. Maybe it was central. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the word.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was just a little confused.
Yeah, but in any case, don't worry. Like, I think like decentralization is like one of the more important things for sure, or the most important things for Gyro.
Definitely agree. Thank you.
All right, cool. Any other questions about CLPs other than after? If there are none, then we can just like, I guess, like explain a bit more like how exactly those pools will be used for Gyroscope, what the launch strategy really is, or we can just like also like go straight to the general AMA. I think we have like some sort of leeway here. So far, this has been going for 20 minutes, and I mean, like, yeah. Any questions are welcome, I guess, at this point.
Well, let's keep talking about the pools, and if any
Okay.
there's one other question that's just popped up, so maybe let's answer this and then we
All right, perfect. Here.
move on.
Hey.
Yeah, hey guys. Just a quick question that has nothing to do with, this is just part of the general AMA. I'm not sure I can stay on the whole thing. What do you feel about like this, the new US bill ban to ban the algorithmic stable coins? You know, that came up like, what was it, in September? Like, does it actually apply to Gyroscope? You know how they're talking about like it's illegal to create and issue these endogenously created stable coins? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Or do you even care?
Right. I mean, like on the topic purely of like these stable coins that are endogenously collateralized, and yeah, just like generally, so not speaking particularly about what is the most like obvious example of what we saw recently, but yeah, I mean this like type of design is something that a lot of the like team like we just have been really like quite critical of for quite a long time. Like it seems like this is just a risky way to go, and of course just like the endogenous nature of the collateralization does make things just quite precarious. So yeah, we're certainly not in favor of that type of design. And of course, our stablecoin is nothing like that in design either. So the core the kind of design choice that we made in designing the like first iteration of this is to have a reserve that is as diversified as possible. So we really want like assets that are ideally as like as uncorrelated and as shielded from each other in compartments as we can possibly achieve. So yeah, we.
Okay, I think we just lost Lewis there, but I guess like just to add a little bit to this, like, so, and to get everyone up to speed, like this endogenously collateralized stablecoins, it usually refers to like to the super reflexive design, where like a stablecoin is like basically collateralized with like another asset that is issued by the same issuer, basically. So the super reflexive, and I think like Lewis was just alluding to this not being a smart design in general.
Yeah.
But I think he's back, so maybe if you want to add like a last few words on this.
Yeah, hopefully you only missed a few seconds. What I was saying, I was just saying at the design level, we're on a different page. But thanks for the question.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, cool. Any other technical questions about the CLPs? Other than that, we'll just talk a little bit more about like the launch and our I guess plan for the pools.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I had a question on the difference between 2 CLP and the 3 CLP. Why use a 3 CLP over 3 different 2 CLPs of each pair?
That's a great question. So why use a 3 CLP over 3 different 2 CLPs? So I think what like the main reason for doing this like relates to like gas costs and like how the kind of balances are handled and like what like different hops would have to take place. But also, yeah, if you dig into the documentation as well on the 3 CLPs, you can also see like how that we have some like nice plots that show like the pricing region between the like different assets in a 3 CLP, and you can see that maybe some cases where you would get like a sort of better price or a price that's like more within like some like desired band and so on. But yeah, maybe you have a secret answer to that question as well, Josh. Is there anything that you think about this issue?
Yeah, so I'm also on the co-team, by the way. Nothing that's coming to mind, to be honest, above what you just said. Yeah, nothing that comes to mind.
Yeah, like there are like we also have like the documentation and everything, right? So in the docs you will also find like a couple of GIFs, and hopefully this should make it really clear like why exactly like a 3 CLP is more efficient than like multiple 2 CLPs. But yeah, I think just those are really really nice to understand the whole issue, the general issue. But yeah, other general questions really, like anything about the gyroscope. It doesn't have to be related to the CLP. We would open the stage for those questions.
Just while we're waiting for anyone to raise their hand with other questions, I wanted to mention about these like the first CLP deployments. So they are also there are asset caps on these first deployments. So yeah, we're only allowing like individual addresses to contribute up to $20,000 US, and also each pool is capped at $100,000. So we want this, like they really are just for testing and for us to make sure that they are behaving as intended. If anyone has questions like about other aspects of the stablecoin project, Gyroscope, this is a great time to ask.
Yeah, and I guess like to give you guys some time to think of questions you might want to ask. We can just like chat a little bit more and go through some of the points. But really, like, feel free to always like jump in and like ask a question by requesting to speak. It should be like in the top right corner, by the way, of your screen if you're using desktop at least. Not sure how it is on mobile. But yeah, Lewis, you mentioned something about, what was it? Something about relating to audits. So maybe we can like quickly chat about the audits. So like the CLPs they have been audited, right? Like, so like what about the audit reports? Maybe you can like say something about this.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, they have indeed been audited pretty extensively actually. So if you look at our documentation, so docs.gyro.finance, you can see there's a page in there which I think we probably accurately named audit reports.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you have a look, so you can see that. So yeah, in total, we've had like 3 different audit firms have looked at our code for like different parts of the code base. For these pools specifically, the audits have been performed by Nethermind and Trailer Bits. So if you want to read more about these audits and see what issues they found and the fixes, and they basically will show that we've fixed what we needed to fix, you can read these reports. So that's all it's very recently publicly available. Actually, it's only really within the last like week or so that these reports have been out there publicly. But if you want to take a look, then that's the place to go. So it's docs.gyro.finance, and you can see the audit reports there. You can also find them through our GitHub repo as well if you're more likely to be lurking around GitHub. It's somewhere in the Gyroscope repository.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. And maybe we can just repeat this point. I think we mentioned it previously, but like this whole bootstrapping the pools and like how those like CLPs like interact with like the reserve assets, what the distinction is between the two, like those two like asset types, etc. Like how like anything in this, I think we can make this still a bit clearer. Lewis, if you wanna give it a shot.
More than happy to. So I mean, I think maybe one point that I should just make super clear as well is that like we've deployed just like instances of the pools. So we've like chosen assets. So like let's say for the 2CLP we've chosen just like rat BTC and rat teeth. But yeah, of course the design can be used for any like pair of assets. And same goes to the 3CLPs. We've just chosen some assets, but this can be for anything. So that's worth noting. And then just to recap, like the role that these asset pools play in our system. So it's like it's in part it's a contribution just to the balancer ecosystem and a great kind of demonstration of composability in practice. So like DeFi composability, different protocols like building on top of each other. You can really see it in those terms, and there's nothing more clear than building on top of other protocols and inheriting other parts of contract code and interacting with like other base contracts that other protocols use and so on. So that's like one aspect of it, but of course the other critical role played by these AMM pools for us is the role that they will play in the reserve. So this is the reserve that will be backing the Gyroscope stablecoin. So for assets that are minted, so when someone comes along to our primary market and with some tokens and they mint their gyro dollars, the assets that they give the protocol in exchange for the mint, these will be stored in these pools. So that's their like critical role, and of course we want to make sure that the pools that we're storing these assets in are that we can be very efficient with the capital in terms of like capital efficiency. So like making sure that the capital in the reserve is being put to most effective use. So it's being really concentrated around traded ranges that are of interest for the particular pairs or particular triplets of assets that are in these pools. And we also want to make sure that it's as gas efficient as possible as well, because this is good from the perspective of fees and other things as well. So that's really these pools are like these are the building blocks of the stablecoin ecosystem. So they're super, super important.
Yeah, and maybe to frame this sort of discussion a bit more, like on like how we will launch, maybe we can talk about like the typical process, right? Because like typically, if you want to launch a new pool, you have probably like two big challenges. Like first of all, like any first pool at first it has like small reserves, so like any trade will have like a high price impact, and that makes them like super unattractive for traders. So that's the first point, like small reserves. And the second point is probably like if you want to launch a new pool, you have to somehow create like incentives for liquidity providers to come in and basically provide assets to the pool, right? So this sounds like a little bit like a chicken and an egg problem in a way, because like you first have to have you have to have like high reserves in order to make them basically attractive for traders, and like making them attractive for traders makes them more attractive for people to provide liquidity, because they get like fee revenue on each trade. So like how exactly is this like chicken and egg problem, I guess, like solved from or like by our side?
Yeah, right. So I mean, it's true that of course some projects like bootstrap their ecosystem or their pools by just paying, like, you know, dishing out like kind of like high incentives for LPs. This can work in the short term, of course, but yeah, it's like also kind of, you know, you can kind of think of that as like a marketing expense in the long run. So we want to overcome this in a completely different way. So the first thing is, like, you know, through the capital efficiency that is like baked into the CLPs, we can offer like competitive pricing, so like good prices on assets in these pools with just much less capital. That's like, you know, one of the main payoffs, probably the main payoff of being more efficient with capital. And yeah, so like some of these like reserve assets that we have will be like once we start to launch, these will be deployed into our CLPs, and then also by the, like, so I mentioned much earlier on this like connection that everything will have to the balances SOR, so the smart order routing. Maybe I should say routing. That's like the fact that these CLPs are plugged into balances SOR means that basically like transactions that like would yield the best prices or the lowest price impacts, these like trades will be automatically routed through whichever pools are offering the best prices. And so yeah, we hope that like over the long run, we'll see lots of volume being routed through what we have through balances SOR.
Yeah, and of course, like once the full system is live, then like also like some of the reserve assets will also be deployed to the CLPs, which will effectively bootstrap them. And then on top of that, like since we have like concentrated liquidity, like we have like those price bonds, right, which allows us to have like to offer much deeper pools than like usually. That also basically means we need less TVL to be competitive with those pools in the first place. So these two things also, like, I guess, like factor in. But yeah, I think we covered probably like hopefully a lot of ground, and hopefully this is complementary information to the Google Docs, not Google Docs, to our documentation basically. And but yeah, like I mean, like now I guess we can like wait a couple more minutes, like if there are like any questions. But like other than that, we probably like end it at the latest like in 5 minutes. So like please, like if you have any questions about the CLPs, about Gyro, about the launch process, the plans for the future, or you just want to ask us anything other than that, that's also cool. Just like try to request to speak, and that would be that.
Yeah, I had a question on why did we decide to use Balancer instead of perhaps another AMM framework, and the utility of this SOR in helping Gyro perhaps one day become a kind of numeraire asset for all trades routed through balance pools?
That's a great question. I'll start answering that, and yeah, if Jonas, if you want to add to it, feel free, I guess. I mean, the story with Balancer is really that when we started building all of this, it was like ages ago, with some of the original like pool designs. And Balancer, like when Balancer started, like one of its core like features was this like multi assets in pools. Essentially, like you could have more than two, and that was already a feature that was present in Balancer V1. And so we were just very interested in this like what possibilities this opened up essentially, and like what you could do if you were able to specialize these pools and have these like pools with many assets in, and yeah, we like it was just like quite intriguing. And there are of course other protocols that offer somewhat similar functionality. So obviously Curve is in some respects similar, but we've just essentially committed to building on Balancer, and we like the composability that this protocol offers, and also in terms of for us the most important thing is to be able to diversify the assets that we have, and split like the reserve into different tranches and so on. And this is something that we can achieve, fully with Balancer. So that's already great. And then the fact that this Balancer SLR means that our pools can have like a life sort of outside of the stablecoin, and also as for liquidity and for capital to be routed through them. This just really increases like the kind of capital efficiency of the stablecoin overall. So we think it's really nice project to be working with and to be building on. So that's most of the reasoning.
Yeah, there's like one other really pragmatic benefit of like launching on Balancer, which is that like FTL Labs, like the developing team behind Gyroscope, is still small, right? So it's super beneficial if you can like tap into the resources of a larger team like Balancer, and that's easier to do if basically we're like an important part of a smaller ecosystem than if we were just like one of many of like a larger ecosystem and we had to fight for attention basically. So there's also this rather pragmatic point. Yeah, I saw there was a question just now, but like you must have withdrawn. Like if you want to ask that question again, I mean that would be great. And if there are no other questions, oh, there's one more. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thanks guys for great informative AMA. I have a question regarding the launch. So you said like there's a governance token, Gyro, and it will be only used for governance, and so it will not be used for incentivizing the pools. It's the first question. Second question is, when you are launching, you're gonna launch everything at one time, like for example, governance token, pools, stablecoin, everything at once, or like separately?
Thanks for the question, Ali. So all of our plans in this area, they're under formation at the moment. What you can see already is that we are deploying our pools in a capped capacity in order to allow people to test out the functionality and so on. But yeah, on the topic of future plans, we are working out what we want to do there. But thanks for the question.
Yeah, and most actions relating to the governance token will of course be also like subject to governance decisions later on. So like once the token is live, I mean, then the community can like make decisions via governance process on how to, I guess, like direct the protocol into the future. There is one more question. I'm giving you the right to speak now. Couple.
Hi, Kappa. I think you're muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask you that there is a NFT that for the people who participate in the testnet, that maybe most of the people who are here maybe already claim it. What is the use cases? What is the utility for this NFT? What we can do with this NFT?
Jonas, maybe you want to take this one to start with?
Sure. I mean, for now, there is like it grants access to this founding Froggers channel, right? Like this token gator channel, and those NFTs like they will also be like seats in the governance process, basically. So all of the people who have an NFT should also play a role in the governance later on. So the more information on the whole governance process will be still shared later on. Like this is now, I think like we can like later this month should be like there should be more info out on how all of this like how all those pieces fit together. But what we can probably say is like this is not forgotten. This is this is not everything in that sense. Like for those founding Frogger NFTs, and they should play like a role in the future governance process.
So maybe is it possible maybe in the future to trade this NFT on OpenSea, or maybe transfer it to the other people? Maybe I don't know.
I mean, ultimately, this is also something that could theoretically be decided by governance, but like of course, like it somewhat defeats the purpose, because like those founding Frogger NFTs, like they're like identity proxies in a way. So to make sure that like the Sybil is not like Sybil attacked, right? The system is not Sybil attacked. So that was like kind of like the original purpose, like to have like all those different challenges, to basically layer them on top, because like each challenge on its own is not necessarily like super strong, but by having like multiple ones, then you get like eventually this sort of guarantee that like the person who owns it is like a real person. So this makes it good, like it makes it like much stronger for launching the process, because then we can actually know that like basically there's not like one VC or not like one bot capturing basically like all of the I don't know, like basically constituting most of the governance participants in the beginning, but we can be sure that we have like a more diverse crowd, I guess, like to build on. And so it is like super important for the beginning of the governance process. And then like in the future, sometime in the future, like it's less obvious basically like what to do with it. And I think there are like multiple ways that can be done or can be reasoned about, I guess. Like there are like multiple rational things to do, I guess. But I think like this is largely up for debate.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope that was helpful. And cool, I guess like if there are no other questions, I mean like we've been doing this for 50 minutes now. It was a bit of a different, I guess, like setup with like our somewhat conversational style in the beginning or whatever. But I think hopefully this answers some questions about the CLPs and maybe also like some general questions. And then going forward, I mean like now we're getting closer to launch, like day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, maybe not like week by week. So like we should probably like do like another, or month by month or whatever. No, but like we're getting closer to launch, so we should like do like another AMA, like or we will do like another AMA like in the future sometime, and hopefully like this is helpful. And I guess let us know if you like this sort of thing.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining everyone, and try the pools out. Go to app.gyro.finance and see how you get on. We're super interested in any feedback on it, and like what the experience is like and so on. So yeah, that would really be awesome.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. Well, thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.